Morning everybody and welcome. Today I think we're going to do a follow-up on a short with that straw. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we've been trying to keep thistle down in some of these pathways, and I just, sometimes I get a little overwhelmed and I just throw a lot of straw on some of this stuff. But we have 21 bales right here, and I think we're actually going to go right behind you. What we have here is a fledgling flowering quince slash hazelnut slash mulberry slash almond tree walkway pathway system that kind of goes through, and I'll take you through a little bit more, but just to give you an idea of the area, these are grapes that don't produce any fruit. That's a mulberry there, and this is all flowering quince. You can see that we have some fruit this year, and these were all planted. They were planted at some time, probably in the 70s or 80s, as a ornamental type of deal. They look really pretty in the spring, and then they put on this fruit in the fall, and I guess they're pretty tart. Oh, well, look at that. And I've heard people make jams and things out of them. I've never tried them. Probably won't try them this year because we only have like 5 fruits, but we have a lot of them. And you can see kind of here, we've kind of kept a pathway going through here. That's a service berry. That's an aronia berry or a black chokeberry, and it kind of goes through and around. There's a center patch. Here's a mulberry. There's a mulberry. I like how this thing auto zooms. Isn't that amazing? Anyways, so there's kind of an island there, and we just like to get it made more official now that it's coming on fall. And it's a lot easier for me to get through things and through places. I think I can get some straw and kind of make some pathways here. Let me get a shot of the chickens real quick, and then I'll walk you over to get to look at the 21 bales of straw that I got. Show you how it actually comes, how you can open it up, and how you can spread it around. And we'll get this area up here set up so it's actually accessible. You guys excited? Get some more pathways? You want to be let out? No? No, you guys are too dangerous. You guys will be flying all over the place. You'll become the neighbor's chickens. I don't want you to become the neighbor's chickens. Okay, well, I'll be right over here, okay, chickies? So this is a little bit of a ridiculous thing I did here. I just been trying to have a pathway through here, and I just decided, well, I'll just drop. There you go. Usually it has like 3 main strands here around this, around these bales, and then these blue lines are actually the individual bales. Pretty easy to get to, I hope. Oh, where's the 3rd one? There you go. Oh, there's the 4th one. See all that just kind of comes apart. I try not to. Here we go. Then that way I can just simply grab bales of straw and then just throw them where I want in the pathways, just to kind of get me some sort of marker here. So starting off with this path here, I want to show you what I'm thinking as I'm laying these out. Now I want to spread a couple of these out into this first pathway, but where I'm setting them is just in between this flowering quince and a nice cedar that I planted here. You can see it's already getting kind of swallowed up. We had trimmed all this thistle back a couple months ago, but all of this stuff needs to be brought back, and there'll be a narrower pathway here, and then it'll spread out. And I might be cutting out that maple because I think I have an apple planted right over there, but as I get these spread out, you'll see there's an almond back there, and it'll swoop off to the right. Here's another action shot here. Doesn't take much to get these strung up. Usually I'll grab the cables here, the twine. It's best to just grab these up and get them wrapped up and set to the side as soon as possible. Otherwise, I forget about them. So we have gone really thickly on the beginning here. Maybe a little bit thicker than really needed to be. But one thing I wanted to point out is because all this straw is kind of in these bricks, and it's really important to get in and break it apart, because otherwise it leaves these hard kind of angles that it never allows the straw to level out on its own. But you can see now that we have some sort of a plan here, some sort of a direction. This is all that flowering quince. So I'm trying to make this turn here, which I think I'll be able to. This is about to flower, so I kind of want to let it flower. So I might just sneak some of the straw in here. And then we're going to surround this almond. And we're going to go down there toward that one. And then we're going to take a right over here back to that other main mowed pathway. We are now in the actual garden wild area itself. And I'm just looking at here. You know, I was thinking about going like this over to there. You see that pine tree? It's right there. Then I noticed I have another cedar right here. So I'm thinking that a walkway will go like this. And it'll actually come and exit out right here to the house. So, I'll spin the camera around. This whole area right here, I'm thinking, will be strawed because that's the backside of them bushes. We have a native, that's a mulberry tree right there, which we'll prune to keep short and kind of bush-like for as long as we can. Here is either a native apple or one that we planted. However, we want to keep that. So I was thinking, well, I'll do a ring around there, but if I'm going to do a ring there, I have another pine tree right there. So I might as well mulch through all that because that'll still be a barrier. So you would walk through, be able to go in, or you could continue that way. That's part of the fun of doing this rewilding, this permaculture style, whatever you want to call it. I just left this area because it was partially rock and all sorts of stuff. It was poorly draining. A lot of water just kind of washed away on it. So over the years, I've added sunchokes, threw in just random handfuls of seed. We tried to plant elderberries and some currants, and some of those have made it, a couple of pawpaws, and maybe a couple of apple trees. But we've definitely tried to do a ring around our property of different evergreens. So this last year we did a lot of pine trees because I learned about pine nuts. Isn't that amazing? Pine nuts come from pine trees. So we have cedar, and then there's a spruce, I think. So we have, 45 something trees. So every spring or every fall, winter, whatever, we usually look through and be like, okay, there's a blank spot. So in the spring, we order more evergreens through our county. This is a good topic too because I had a video on having a wild area before and what you can do with it. Because if you leave a wild area open, you might get a couple of mulberries and a whole couple of stands of fruiting quince bushes, which I know they're not like good to eat. I guess they don't taste very good off of the plant, but you can make them in jams and jellies and pies and all sorts of stuff. So it's one of those forgotten fruits, and it's here. I don't have to plant it. I'll just have to maybe prune it up a little bit, get it a little bit smaller. It does have thorns, so that's why I'm trying to keep these pathways a little bit wider. And hopefully we can prune away a lot of the thorns and keep them good sized. One of the difficult things about straw is that as you get it deeper, it gets a little bit hard to walk in. But that's what we need, like rain and just regular foot traffic to come through and flatten everything out. That's one of those squares that we're trying to get rid of. We come up in these sheets, just like right here, comes like a brick. And we really want it to be, torn apart, taken apart, so I can kind of randomize again. Otherwise, you'll trip, like I've already tripped and almost fallen a couple of times because I'd forgotten a couple of these lumps. And I hope this is coming through on the camera. I probably should have zoomed out. But one of the great things about straw is that it covers so much area. That's 2 bales. That whole area is 2 bales. We're going to continue this. It'll go all the way up to there with 1 more bale, and then we'll be able to turn the corner. And then we're faced with kind of another set of problems. Well, all right, it has gotten hot out here, and I'm pretty tired. I was just thinking about, how this is hard work, and the harder I can stay at it today, the better shape I'll be in, and then the next time I have to do this, it won't be so hard. Another thing about this straw is if you're looking for straw in your local area, it should be relatively easy to find. I know I had a couple of friends in the area, and I just asked around. Hey, do you know anybody who has straw? Just randomly. Also, I've noticed a lot of signs. They'll show a phone number like straw and hay for sale. I got these 21 bales for $125. I decided to pick it up in my truck and then figure out a way to get it dropped off and actually use that mulberry tree as an anchor and just, you know, kind of drug it off. Also, I remember telling the guy, this is the second time I've told him this, but I told him this is going to be the last trip of getting straw from this year. And once again, I lied. So I'll have to text him, probably pick up another load tomorrow for another 125, because the chickens still need straw over the year, over the winter. We try to get them in extra layers, and we might actually swap out a lot of the straw in the coop, because it's been a year, coming up on a year this October, November, since we laid all that in there, and we have 10 birds. So let me go over there after I get some water and cool down a little bit, and I'll show you the problem I was talking about, because the pathways have changed, but we have a fix for it. So hold on just a second. So we'll walk around here and actually show you, that's where that one pathway leads into. That's that large area I was just talking about right in the center. See how it's still got quite the wall of foliage, especially with this apple tree here. That's a silky dogwood, I do believe, and that is a stand of sunchokes. And the problem I was going to have is when I reached here, I ran into another tree, and then so I got to skirt the edge of the tree and the sunchokes, which isn't too bad. Then I have a cedar right there, so I got to come up here, which gives me access to the alleyway, which is cool. But before, there was a path here, and there was one that came on the other side of this pole, and I was trying to think of a way to incorporate it, and I might end up further down the road try to do it, but I think I'm just going to leave that, because I'm trying to respond to what grows. Here, I'll show you. I'll split all this stuff up apart, hopefully today, if my energy levels stay up. But all this will be a walking path. Coming up on a aronia berry bush on the right, some Queen Anne's lace there, some comfrey, and then there's a walnut and a pear tree. Yes, a pear tree. So it'll come out. That will be just like that. Here's the main mown walkway. And then, like I said, all of the flowering quince is all kind of centered right here with that mulberry in the center. Like, it looks like somebody planted it to be that way. So I'm just trying to, I don't know, reimagine it, give access to it type of thing. And then we have another aronia berry bush here. Here's that service berry tree. So I'm trying to keep these pathways as wide as possible originally, and then if they kind of grow in, I might have to prune to make them wider. So these are all flowering quince around here. I mean, it just makes sense for there to be a pathway. And I just luckily planted an almond in the center there. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. But yeah, it goes around that mulberry. This mulberry's in the center of this. And I had luckily, sunchokes actually grew up right there. So it really looks like I'm just formalizing what this area of the space, like nature has decided to grow. So it's really actually very cool that with 100 and, well, because I won't be able to use all the straw because some of them broke, for let's say 120 bucks, 100 bucks, I was able to straw out all of this walking path and be able to gain access to potentially hundreds of, hundreds of fruit. How many pounds that would be, not including all the mulberries we're gonna get and apples. And I think that's an apple too. So really amazing. Well, I gotta tell you, that was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but holy moly, that's super wide. Let me walk you around and give you a couple notes on this. This is my first time seeing how wide this is. I didn't really expect it to be that wide. So what used to be just a little narrow path where I used to kind of walk through, and I had kind of last fall and early spring kind of walked around, and it was interesting because, excuse me, rabbits and groundhogs and whatever animals actually use that path. So it's pretty distinguishable. We're gonna let it set for the next, few days, let it get rained on. We left one extra bale in there just in case we need to fill in some kind of thin spots. But this is really cool. Like some of the stuff that's like the walnut, we're probably gonna just cut that down. We're gonna wait for this plant to flower and create all the burrs and stuff, just all over my shorts. And that'll be cut back and probably controlled, so that's a much cleaner area. And maybe even a couple of these plants on the edge might get cut down, just so it's a kind of a welcoming, easy walk through. We hope that this tree will end up being pretty tall. This will be trimmed back more toward that way, so a lot of that will be cut in the spring and directed that way. So this will be much more open path. We definitely keep the goldenrod, because goldenrod is amazing, and we'll still be able to keep our pathway and our evergreens along here. Got a little, I don't know, we could even put a bench in there and just sit down and pick fruit and whatever else, hang out in a little private garden. Actually thinking about that, this is one of the things that I'd hoped for, that after I'd let everything go wild, I'd created these, I'd mowed these pathways to gain access. I'd really hoped that some of these areas would become gardens within gardens. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm gonna head over to the quince garden, that kind of thing. I'm gonna go hang out with the pawpaws, that kind of thing. So this is really cool how this came up by itself. I added some sunchokes and maybe an almond and an apple, maybe. But we have plenty of that stuff around here anyways, minus almond, of course. So it's, yeah, perfect. Let me get back on track here to show you. I'm expecting a lot of this stuff to settle down, and these will thin out, especially with the spring and all that. We'll have to probably manually come through with a saw or a blade of some sort to keep the walkways clear. That, of course, is going to get a lot bigger along with these other evergreens, because I think there are raspberries here along with some other flowers, and there's a pine tree right there. So this will become more narrow, but it actually gives us a spot to start planting other stuff on the edge there, so we can fill that in as we want it. As I stumble over one of these chunks, you gotta really watch out for these. But it's a perfect example to show you how deep it is. So one hand's breadth. Okay, that's it for me for today. We'll let it get rained on. We'll try and walk through here as often as possible. It's just, all this straw kind of gets all over the place. So hopefully we'll get a chance to get out here. It'll rain a couple of times. Things will settle in. And it's just a wonder working with straw. A lot of times I use wood chips. Wood chips don't go as far. And I don't exactly want this to be a permanent pathway. I want it to be obvious and used, so that it stays a pathway. You know what I mean? It's going to take more management, I guess, on a weekly level, maybe just 3 times a month, 3 times a year, really. I mean, if you think about spring, you do some pruning, midsummer, maybe a couple times in midsummer, and then in the fall you could redress the walkways if you wanted to. If not, you could always change them over to wood chips or stones or whatever. But for $125, to say that, a trip across town and an hour and a half of work when it's too hot out by yourself, I think it was a pretty good deal. I gotta say too, the hardest thing, I don't know if any of you out there are self-employed or anything like that, but halfway through this project I really wanted to just stop, you know what I mean? But I have to self-motivate, you know what I mean? I don't have a boss to come tell me what to do, and I don't have any friends work with me or anything to like kind of compete against. There's no social aspect to that. So it's really, do I want to go to bed tonight knowing I only did half of this project, that I only got half of a video recorded, you know what I mean? So it becomes self-motivation, maybe based on pride, that type of things. And that's, it's a kind of it's a regular thing, maybe not a daily thing, but when you're out here when it's hot and you're like, I could just stop, nobody will know. But I'm really glad that I got this done, and I'll get this edited, I'll get this done just in time to do to meet my Japanese tutor. So for all you who've watched this far, I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Crickets are so loud. It's the crickets and the guineas that compete. All right, bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.